In our world, we are being presented with many problems. Albert Einstein gave great advice in this matter when he said problems cannot be solved by the level of knowledge or awareness that created them. In other words, we have to get outside our own boxes. Well, a mystic sees beyond a box to what has been hidden or what has been forgotten, what is not seen. My name is Sharon Raji Maynard. It was curiosity that took me on a radical search for answers. And those answers came to me from ancient ones, those in spiritual worlds, unseen to the eye. And this knowledge foundations my podcast, A Mystic's View. Come as you are to see situations through my eyes as we sit together. Diversity, uniqueness, is a natural condition, a natural outcome within humanity, and hearing diverse ideas and thoughts expands our own capacities. So I encourage you to listen to A Mystic's View, to hear, to be enhanced, and to consider other possibilities. I welcome you to this journey.
A Mystic's View is made possible by my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. You enable me to share ideas that otherwise may not see the light of day beyond my small circles. Today's episode is giving a new view on the coronavirus. Big in our world right now, high on our attention list, but what can it say to us that will enhance and heal? Each month, several women with various spiritual healing gifts gather to identify situations in our current world that are causing damage, danger, death, and then use their abilities to work with beings in spirit to travel back in time to make changes in order for that concept, that pattern that is manifesting in our current life as not acceptable, in order to allow entrapping, dangerous situations to transform or heal. They gathered in such a circle here in March and identified the coronavirus as a situation that needed attention, and they wanted to hear what that virus had to say, the opportunities that are there beyond being afraid. And then there were action steps suggested. And this is those women's shortened version of what they experienced and brought back as information.
Is there an opportunity before we leave that you talk about the time travel and the coronavirus and what came out of it?
Kind of all came to the conclusion that there's the microbe or whatever the little beginning place that has been changed to take advantage of its basic nature of the ability to connect and network and spread quickly, had a good intention. But also, when it's like using black magic, good intention. So it's been weaponized so that now it is being manipulated to create fear, isolation, etc. We wanted to talk to the virus itself to see what we could do to unweaponize it, dissolve the programming and get it on board with us as that networker for good. I was given some specific instructions, do a glyph, do a spray, and get some possibilities out for people to then do guardian circle and really dissolve away the programming for it and anything that's been manipulated and use it as a surrogate. And that's what I got.
So for me, what mine and it started almost immediately, was working within. Back in November, I had seen something that to me, when I saw the picture of the virus, looked similar to what I had seen in a journey. and I had wrote clothes on an orange down below the drawing that I had. So for me, immediately when Sharon started setting space, I was working within that cell wall and trying to redirect anything that was not in alignment for the better good of our existence and our relationship with this virus. So that's really what happened for me, is I went further out. And you know, those little magnetic boards that we used to drag beards onto, like in the road on a road trip or something.
Yeah, like
like
those
that.
little iron fillings.
Yes. So basically what I was doing was within each of these cells, as they went into this big tube up in the stratosphere, way, way, way up there, was reorganizing their internals to where it would break the bond or the misdirected purpose.
Mhm.
And then they would come back down in. So that's what was happening for me based on that original vision.
Thank
Oh,
you.
how interesting. How I'm so interested by this.
So what I saw was that, and music is really important to me. So what I saw was that they had forgotten their song and that their light had been dimmed, and that my team and I worked with the actual cell bodies to remind them of their song, to remind them of their inclusion in the light. And there was a brief interaction with an outsider entity that basically said they're super pissed off that we're making them leave, and that their intention is to harm and destroy as much as possible. And then PTO guys came in, you know, I imagine the PTO guys putting everybody in like a glass sphere filled with outsiders, and then just kind of like a basketball, and then they go home. So, and then just reminding them that they are, and I guess the third thing was that they talked about them teaching us a model of working symbiotically with other species. And there's a book called I Contain Multitudes by Ed Wong, I think. He's a writer for The Atlantic. He's written about our internal symbiotic relationships with one-celled creatures. And so that was the information I received.
And it really struck me how it was like almost a mirror of humanity.
Yes.
Like if we look at each person as one of those cells, that they're using this work, not just to free those microbes, but to free humanity. So that was it. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, fascinating. I just didn't know if I had a little bit of a evil thing going on in my head about every time I think of the coronavirus, it's actually kind of exciting for me instead of fearful. And I'm like, what is this? Why is this? What is this? I feel like it was like it's really serving a purpose. And I don't know what that purpose is. It's not to get rid of the weak. I think when you say that it's a reminder or a parallel or a mirror of what is happening in, just within each of us anyway, I think that this virus knows no boundaries. You can't protect yourself by living in a gated community. You can't protect yourself from this virus by being a politician, right? There are no boundaries. It just isn't attacking the poor. It's attacking anyone and everyone. It's an equal player. And so I'm grateful you guys traveled. It sounds like you traveled together and did the work together.
No. It looks like it, we didn't. The spray that we were putting it together is called Return to Light. And we also asked her to ask the glyph what could be, so people could get a spray, but what could they put on their altar with the glyph to broadcast right from the altar that return to light. So we've got two ways of being, and of course other people can come up with their own.
That was the shortened version of the information we were given. Now the next audio is Susan, our alchemist, our crystal alchemist, and her experience as she took the symbol, the glyph, the reality statement, the numerical formula, all intended to make the corrections we were asked to make. And she sat with that information to put together the ingredients for the formula for the spray that is called Return to Light.
When you got the glyph for returning the microbe, that cell, to its correct divine nature, and you sat with that information, what began to happen for you?
They showed me this molecule and the complexity of it and the different components to it. I started pulling all these essential oils and crystals. I kept asking, well, this is too much. We don't need all these components. And as I kept moving things into the circle, formulating, keeping that vision of this molecule in my mind's eye, they said that because of the overriding complexity of the programming into the molecule, it was necessary to bring in more light and more components to override what had been programmed in. As you explained, you had freeze framed the virus in its tracks. And so now this part of the spray is unraveling and restoring back to that pure light. And so the different components all married, and I could see them in this molecule as they were moving and as this molecule was becoming brighter.
Wow. My awareness was how like humanity, each of us, like a cell in humanity, has been equally complexly programmed over time. And so is this a way for the virus to serve humanity too? Because as its crippling is dismantled and dissolved, it is a surrogate to help humanity's, me, you, individuals, crippling trauma to be dismantled and dissolved. So it's an amazing energetic piece to make this gift. Virus is giving us a gift to unravel the crippling and the manipulation we've been involved with, as has this viral microbe.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming along on this episode. These various sharings may stretch your mind, challenge your dogma, awaken new possibilities, or even resonate with your own experiences. I'd love to hear any of that. And you can find me on Facebook under A Mystic's View, and the same YouTube, A Mystic's View. When you see the value of this podcast, please share it with your friends. A Mystic's View is also on Patreon, where those who want to support and be a part of this growing community can participate. That would be at www.patreon.com/A Mystic's View. The pressures of this world is rising, and what does that mean? How can you respond? My intention is that through this podcast, you will gain more insight, encouragement to discover yourself. Until next time, blessings.